This weekend I was playing with constant current sources using two transistors, and I ended up designing another version of my LED breadboard module. I make these so I could have 8 little LEDs that fit nicely onto a breadboard, take up a minimum amount of space. Also contain drivers, so there's a high impedance input, so I could drive them from any kind of digital logic or microcontroller without loading down the bus. I also like to have something that I know works as a module, because if you're trying to debug a bus, you don't want to have to figure out if your LEDs are actually working or wired up correctly. And I always find if I hook up an LED and a resistor, it takes so much space on the breadboard. It's a constant current source where I limit the LED to be about 10 milliamperes, and I have a nice big resistor to power it so that it only takes about 0.1 milliamps to turn the LED on. I have this repo up on my GitHub page where I have the history of all the previous modules I've made. This one goes back to the late 1990s. And I kind of chronicle all the different iterations. There's a picture of the version 2. As you can see in the schematic I did for my version 2 module, I have a simple buffer transistor to help drive the LED. This gives me a slightly wide range of voltages I can use. It works well between 3.3 and 5 volts. But when I look at this now, this resistor driving the base is way too low. I end up just loading the bus a lot more than I need to. But also, I don't need this pull down resistor. I think I was getting confused with MOSFETs where you should pull down the gate when there's nothing attached to it. The previous module was a little bit chunkier too, a little taller. Back then I didn't have things spaced out very well. I basically put all the parts on one side of the board. It's still a 4-layer board to handle them this close together. I remember laying this out, and I don't know why I didn't put the parts on the other side. I guess I was still fairly new at laying out circuit boards back then. I last made the version 2 back in 2017. So I'm really excited to have a constant current source, as this should let me run this LED with a wider range of voltage. On my bench, I tested it up to about 12 volts, which is way more than I'll probably ever need for breadboard work testing logic levels. And once I had the single element working, it was just a matter of copying it a few times to make enough to get 8 bits. I plan on building this into a nice module just like I did before. And then with the schematic complete, I laid out a small circuit board. This is using 4 layers to get everything as close together as possible. And then I uploaded my design to OSH Spark and then submitted an order. Now I am waiting a couple weeks for the boards to come in. That's all I have for now. Stay tuned for a second episode when I get the boards in. I'm not sure, maybe I'll make a video or at least a time-lapse pictures of me assembling it. I have a bunch of quirky ways of doing surface mount stuff this small. In the meantime, I was sort of amusing on using MOSFETs to power the LED module. Here I was able to get it so that the inputs can be basically touch sensitive. I don't really have a practical application for this. I was just playing around, but it's kind of overkill to have this many parts just to drive one LED. Anyhow, thanks for watching.